Shalom Aleichem. This is a tribute to a good friend, Reb Chaim Meir ben Reb Alter Lieberman, Olav Shalom. I'll share some personal recollections. In no way is this a full tribute and biography, just a few ideas that hopefully will be l'teivos nishmasei and for the family and friends of this great chassid. Reb Chaim Meir, as we called him, or Chaim Meir, I first met him over the phone back in the 1994, 95, 96. This was after Gimel Tammuz, and I wanted to do something for the Rebbe, and I wrote a book called Conversations with the Rebbe, a collection of 14 personalities from Yitzchak Shamir to Professor Bonavert, Dr. Tversky, and others. And pretty much it was a verbatim, question and answer interview style book. And through Harvey Lerner, a mutual friend, he connected me to Chaim Meir, who printed the book for me and distributed it. That was my first contact with him. I didn't really know him. He's, over 10 years older than I am. But I got to know him once I moved back to New York. I was summoned back by the Rebbe, and by the Rebbe meaning by the yeshiva, Lubavitch Yeshiva, in 1996 from Los Angeles. And I came back and spent quite a bit of time with him in his Borough Park store, Garari's Books, which he bought, I believe, from Reb Nosson Garari. And it was off New Utrecht Avenue on 7th Street. And I would go and talk to him and meet him there. But I want to tell you something amazing that happened to me just yesterday, because I was questioning, whether I should make this tribute, not knowing him, that well, and all of the historical aspects of his life. So who am I to make a tribute for him? But the Rebbe gave me the answer yesterday. You might think it's a little silly, but let me tell you what happened. I'm finalizing a book called The Rebbe's Advice. This includes those issues of the Rebbe's Advice that I put out years ago. It's out of print, and now I've added much more, up till including the last volume of Igros Kodesh number 32. So yesterday I'm sitting, and in volume 32, I look, and I'm translating those excerpts of letters that are of interest, practical things of interest for people. And lo and behold, right in front of me, I see the name Reb Chaim Meir Halevi Lieberman. And I take a look, and it's to him while he was a shliach in 1977 in Cape Town, South Africa, which he told me about once. We didn't speak much about it, and this was a letter to him. He asked the Rebbe about the kashrus of the mikveh there, and the Rebbe said he should consult Rabbi Eloi, the chief rabbi of South Africa, who happened to be a Lubavitcher Chassid, coming from the city of Dukshitz, and he should speak to him about the details. And I said, I don't believe this. Here it is, a day after he was buried. Yesterday was Monday. Chaim Meir was buried Sunday. He passed away Shabbos. I said, it looks like the Rebbe from on high is telling me, Dolphin, you make this tribute for Chaim Meir. So here I am. Anyway, there's a few things that I heard from him and that I know about that some might not be aware of. He grew up in Borough Park. His father, Reb Alter, was originally not a Lubavitcher Chassid. He was a Polish Chassid. And through meeting the Lubavitcher Chassidim, I think in either Tashkent or Samarkand, he became more part of Lubavitch, and then he married his wife, who also had a shaykhus to Lubavitch. And the family was raised here. He became, of course, Avram Aaron Rabashkin, Olav Shalom's partner. They were partners in the meat business. Hence, Rabashkin Lieberman, that's the way it was originally called. I think later it was changed to Aaron's Meats or whatever. And growing up here in Cheder, he learned at the Or Yaakov Navardik local yeshiva, which wasn't just for Navardiker, it was for many others. And from there, he went on to Lubavitch Yeshiva, I believe, in Bedford and Dean, and then later, I think, Ocean Parkway. But the point is that he had a very good grounding in the general community here. And I say this because later on, in the late 70s and early 80s, his home was always known as an open house and still is a very open house. But at the time when Mendel Wächter, the former Satmar Rosh Hashiva, became a Lubavitcher, was pursued actively, as we know, by some wild kind of Satmar Hasidim who didn't like what he did, or at least accused him of doing things that they felt were wrong. He needed a safe haven because he had to leave Williamsburg or Monroe, wherever he was. It was literally dangerous for him, and he was with Reb Chaim Meir. Reb Chaim Meir provided for him and his family a safe haven. And this is a very important piece of history and also reality. In other words, he felt a second home at the home of Reb Chaim Meir. And this wasn't only for Reb Mendel. The Talmidim of Reb Mendel also found a lot of comfort, easygoingness with him. And why? Because he was such a person. Reb Chaim Meir was an easygoing person. My experiences of talking with him and sitting with him was always benichusa, easygoing. He was a highly intelligent, and by the way, he was a big Talmud Chacham, a very learned person. My last conversation with him was before Sukkot this year. I would always buy my Lulav and Esrog from him for years. And this time he told me about, I believe, Reb Hirschsprung knew his father or grandfather, maybe grandfather in Poland, and he told me some things of conversations between Reb Hirschsprung, and Chaim Meir about his, I think, Zayda. So he himself, in his own right, was a great Talmud Chacham, as he said. And his easygoingness was very, very inviting. It was very inviting. You could feel comfortable sitting and talking and laughing. And that itself made it very comfortable for the Talmidim of Mendel and others to kind of transition into becoming Lubavitch in that beautiful, comfortable, easygoing environment. And because he came from Borough Park, he was raised here, and his father was not originally a Lubavitcher Chassid. I don't know if he actually became an actual Lubavitcher Chassid, I'm not sure. But he had a background of understanding these people. And this was very, very important for them at the time and helped them become who they became later in life. Another thing that people aren't so aware of is that he was a teacher of Gemara in Beis Rivka Girls High School. And my own daughter was one of the students. My oldest daughter, Baruch Hashem, I have 6 daughters and a boy. And my daughter would come home raving about Rabbi Lieberman's Gemara class. And you have to understand, my daughter wasn't the top students, and not all classes was something that she, could relate to or appreciate. But the Gemara class, she said, I want to learn more Gemara. He teaches it so well, and he lets us ask, and we dialogue. And he was easygoing. He wasn't, maybe he was taking attendance, but that, dictatorship and discipline and rigidity, that wasn't what he gave these girls. And I remember like it was yesterday how she came home, telling me how she enjoyed so much learning with him the Gemara, and she wants to learn more Gemara. And mind you, this wasn't, a Beis Rivka turning girls into Bacharim and, Gemara students. It was to give them a taste of what a shtickle piece of Gemara is, which she did so well. And this, of course, is going to be something that will be remembered by many of his students throughout years, who he merited teaching Gemara. So it's something that personally I'm thankful to. And collectively, as a community, he was the Gemara teacher, one of the Gemara teachers at Beis Rivka. Another point that comes across as a tribute for his neshama is, of late, he replaced his father-in-law, Rabbi Heshke Gansberg, as one of the members of the Tzach Tzirkus Chabad organization, and he was on the board. And being on the board of such an organization, I believe with 170 institutions under them in the greater New York area, under Tzach, there's a lot of issues that come up. It's just the nature of the beast, as we say. It's just a fact that, people have chilukei deis and ein deis same Shabbos, people's opinions are different, and he was someone who educated many of these issues, and I wouldn't want to be in his position, but his temperament was such that made him a right candidate for this type of activity. To be able to see both sides and to make decisions. Sometimes it's not a decision one party liked, but nevertheless he was fair. He heard both. He didn't take sides, and he was a good person for the job. So that zchus is also a great zchus. There's much more to say, but we'll leave that for others. This is my little hishtatvus, my little contribution to a giant of a chassid, a giant of a person who built such a beautiful, wonderful home with children who are shluchim and others. And the ikid is that his neshama should have an aliyah, and the family should have only simchas from here on, and should go in the good ways that he showed and lived and had an open home. And one last thing I remind myself is he was a father to many Bali Tshuva families in Crown Heights. Some of them literally, he mamish took them and had married them off, helped them get married, and then supported them and was there for advice and shalom bayis. He was one of those mishpachas in Crown Heights, one of those families that was, very, very wholesome and healthy for many of these people. So all around, he'll be missed, but I'm sure through the good work of his children and grandchildren, an extensive family, they'll continue the gewaldige Arbeit, the gewaldige work of hashpo, of influence, and goodness, and achnosas orchem. His house was a 24/7 achnosas orchem home. Okay. And this is something that we can learn from and should learn from. They should help. The kitzer ran the sheikh ne'ofer who beteicham and zecher to tchias hamesim, the kor of mamish, together with our Rebbe and all chassidim and all yidden, and we'll be zecher to the gula shleim of the kor of mamish, afreilich and Chanukah, and we shall have simchas.